One summer moment can change a child's life. Through Toys for Tots Give and Go initiative, your support provides books, games, toys, and outdoor adventures that spark curiosity, creativity, and a love of nature. Whether it's fishing, learning a new sport, reading under a tree, or playing with friends, these moments build confidence and lifelong memories. For too many children, those moments never come. You can help change that this summer. Visit toysfortots.org. Toys for Tots, delivering hope beyond the holidays.
This is the Cats Roundtable with John Catsimatidis.
Everywhere around the world, they come to America. Every time that flag's unfurled, they come to America.
Good morning, America. This is the Cats Roundtable. John Catsimatidis here. Well, happy 4th of July and happy 250 years for our country. We have a great show for you today, a third-hour special because Sean Spicer, he's in the Navy, and he'll be back next weekend. And we have Pamela Falk, who works for the United Nations, and talks about many, many things that are coming up. Congresswoman Harriet Hagelman from the great state of Wyoming. Assistant Secretary of State talks about what's going on in the entire world. Dylan Johnson, Steve Moore on the economy, Daniel Schaefer on, Apple telephones and what's going on with them, and Assistant to the President, and talks about our country on 250 years, Kush Dasey, and Senator Joe Manchin. And calling in from Israel to start off the show in a 10 o'clock show, Ambassador Mike Huckabee, and let's go to Israel. Ambassador, happy 4th of July weekend. We're calling you to find out what the heck is going on over there, and there's so many open items. And are you personally celebrating at the embassy?
Absolutely. I mean, this is the 250th year of our nation. We're so very excited to be able to represent America here in this land that is a terrific partner to the United States. And today, the President of Israel, President Isaac Herzog, came over to the embassy to bring a letter that we're sending to President Trump. And it's just a wonderful time for us to remember how blessed we are to serve under the red, white, and blue flag that flies proudly over Jerusalem at the U.S. Embassy.
Ambassador, lately in the last few weeks, a few months, there's been a lot of controversy going on between Lebanon, the Strait of Hormuz, and Iran, and nobody really knows who's in charge in Iran. Where do you want to start?
Let's talk about Lebanon, because I was very involved as U.S. ambassador to Israel, along with my colleague, Ambassador Michelle Issa, who is U.S. ambassador to Lebanon. And we joined with delegations from both Israel, Lebanon, and the State Department, and over 5 different sessions of peace talks, were able to put together a peace agreement between Lebanon and Israel that is truly historic. And it's something that every American can be proud of, because for the first time since 1955, the government of Lebanon is now recognizing Israel and its sovereignty. Israel and Lebanon declare they're not at war with each other. Israel declares it does not want to annex any of Lebanon. Lebanon declares that not only is it not at war, but its real enemy is Hezbollah. And that's a big thing, John, because it puts this in the right perspective. It really puts the focus on the bad guys. And what we're seeing is the opportunity to move toward normalization between these two countries. And recognizing the only reason that it's not peaceful already is because of the Iranian-backed terror organization Hezbollah that has killed hundreds of Americans through the years. So if Americans say, well, Hezbollah doesn't affect me, actually it does. Hezbollah is in 12 Western Hemisphere nations, but never forget it was Hezbollah that killed 240 Marines in 1982 in Beirut. They're a horrible organization of nothing but terror.
This terrorist organization, are they terrorists on their own, or are they paid assassins of the Iranians? Give us the pulse of the situation.
Well, they're unquestionably an arm of the Iranian regime. They have been a proxy for Iran forever, just as is Hamas and the Houthis. It's one of the reasons that stopping Iran is more than just getting rid of that regime, but it also is standing on the oxygen hose that feeds Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Houthis. So it's why that, again, many Americans don't get it. They think that this is a Middle Eastern problem. It is a global issue because these are people who threaten and who kill people all over the world, including U.S. citizens.
Understood. And the same question with Hamas. I mean, the Iranians, by opening up the spigots and having $100 oil, we made them zillionaires again. And when they hired Hamas, they paid those families to go in and kill the Israelis. Hamas didn't do it voluntarily. They got paid for it. You know, you got to give the American people your gut feeling is.
I think, John, I wish more Americans understood that what Israel does when it stops Hamas, Hezbollah, or the Houthis, it's stopping them at their front door so they don't come to the U.S. front door. The Iranians have said for 47 years, death to America. They burned our flag. They took our diplomats hostage at the U.S. Embassy in Tehran in 1979 and held them for 444 days after blindfolding them and frog marching them across grounds of the U.S. Embassy. This is an evil regime. They're not a normal government. They're not normal people. And that's why when they make threats for 47 years that they're going to kill us, and by us, I'm talking about Americans, we need to take them seriously. In less than a year, John, they could arrange their ballistic missile capacity from 2,100 kilometers to 4,100 kilometers, which means now their ballistic missiles could reach any city in Europe, including London, Berlin, Paris. And as soon as they could get one that has the range to reach America, you could rest assured they would light it up and send it our way.
Ambassador, are you disappointed in some of the NATO countries that don't realize that what is really going on with Iran?
I'm disgusted with them, and I think the president's outrage that he has expressed is quite justified, and I'm proud of him for speaking out about it, because in some of those instances, nations that we protect as NATO members, and we have helped fund NATO more than any other country, even though it's not even in our neighborhood, when we needed permission to fly over the airspace to engage with the Iranians and keep them from a nuclear weapon, they refused. They said, no, you can't fly over. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, let me see if I get this straight. We are protecting the rest of the world from this evil Iranian regime, and you basically are taking the size of Iran. And as the president has said, what's the point of being in NATO if when we need NATO, they basically give us the middle finger?
You're absolutely right. And I will never forget what happened with Turkey, what was it, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, when we wanted to fly over Turkey to get to Iraq, and they gave us the middle finger.
Yeah. And at some point, and this is what I love about President Trump, he can be patient and he can be realistic, but there comes a point he has enough. He says, my patience is gone, and he takes action. He doesn't just send a strongly worded letter. He cuts off funding. He just makes decisions. He pulls military assets from countries that treat us like unwanted relatives that won't leave after Thanksgiving dinner. And I'm grateful for that. It's the kind of president that we need that doesn't put up with this nonsense from people that are supposed to be our friends, but they treat us like the enemy.
Absolutely. I mean, Iran, how many people are theoretically in charge? Is it 2 different sets of people, 3 different, 4 people? I mean, it's like asking about the United States. Is it Gavin Newsom in charge or President Trump, you know?
I think there's clearly at least 2 factions in Iran. There is a faction that believes that it would be in their best interest if they started making some compromises. And then there are the hardliners, represented by the new supreme leader, the son of the old one. And about him, you might say, meet the new boss, same as the old boss. He's a hardliner. And those are the people who don't want to make any compromises whatsoever. They want to maintain nuclear ambitions. And they have every intention, no matter what they say and what they agree to, they have every intention of using whatever weaponry they can find to kill the people that they consider to be infidels. This is not a democracy. Iran is a theocracy. They believe they are under divine mandate to wipe out everyone who does not bow to the Shiite form of Islam. And when you understand that, you have a better realization that trying to talk them into something is never going to work. It's just, a noble effort, but probably one that is not going to result in resolving this issue or their aspirations to kill every last one of us.
Understood. Anything else you want to say to the American people that are listening today?
Well, I want to say God bless America. You know, John, I grew up a kid, dirt poor in southern Arkansas, and nobody thought I had a shot at anything. I'm the first male in my family to even graduate high school. No male, as far back as we can trace, had ever gotten out of high school. And I would say, where else but America could a kid like me end up governing a state for almost 11 years and then having the privilege of serving President Trump in the United States as ambassador to Israel? I love America. Every day when I drive up to the embassy and I see our flag, and I'm reminded what a blessing it is to be under the red, white, and blue.
Well, Arkansas is almost like middle America, and all, hardworking middle America people. And I'm glad you're there. I'm glad you give us the pulse of the situation, and thank you for everything you do. And hopefully we'll catch up again real soon.
I hope so, John. Happy 250th to you and all your listeners. Thank you.
We are celebrating. Thank you so much.
The Cats Roundtable.
With us today is Daniel Schaefer, founder of Gratitude Plus, and he's a passionate entrepreneur and engineer who loves designing and building products. He's an expert on Apple, a good friend of my son, John Jr. Well, Daniel, Apple, one of the most successful products they've ever come out with is the iPhone 17, but they're raising the price. Give us an update of what you know about the iPhone 17.
Yeah, so, they release a new iPhone once a year. They've been doing that since iPhone first came out in 2007. That's crazy. They keep building new ones, and then the 17 and 17 Pro, and then also the iPhone Air, which is their thinnest device ever. It has a lot of the usual suspects. Bigger camera, better battery life. I think the new one has new materials that it was built with. So depending on what you're looking for, a lot of people love battery life and a better camera. They're pretty appealing. And what Tim Cook said on the first call after it came out, which is now almost a year ago, because they introduced new ones in September, so we'll see the 18 in a couple months. But the 17 and 17 Pro line have been selling like hotcakes. I think it's the best-selling device in the first quarter they've ever had. So people seem to use them and love them.
Apple raised the prices because, I guess, the price of chips or whatever, and that's affected sales a little bit. And what do you want to say about that?
They haven't mentioned anything about it affecting sales, but I'm sure it will. They announced last week that they raised prices across most of their devices. Macs, I'm not sure about phones, but a lot of their devices, including the MacBook Neo, they raised it by $100, $200, $300 because of the chip shortage. And relatively unprecedented for Apple. I mean, I can't remember the last time in near recent history where they've increased prices almost across the board by $100, $200. So, I mean, it's amazing with what's happening with the chip supply or shortage of the chip supply.
Understood. What else would you like to talk about the Apple? I mean, have you always used Apple?
I've been an Apple fan for as long as I can remember. I mean, I got an iPod when it first came out in 2001. So I've been a fan, pretty obsessed with them for a long time, since the Steve Jobs era. And obviously he came back in 1997 and I think had the most amazing business run from then till his unfortunate passing in 2011. And I mean, the two big things in the Apple world that people are talking about is one, the fact that John Ternus is going to be CEO, is coming in September and replacing Tim Cook, who has been there for over 15 years, even longer than when Steve Jobs came back. And Tim Cook has had an unbelievable run. I mean, their market cap went from a couple $100 billion when Steve Jobs passed to $4.5 trillion today. So in so many regards, Tim Cook has done an amazing job. And John Ternus has been there for 20 years as an engineer. So the great thing is Tim Cook was an operations guy, and now we have an engineer coming back to Apple. And so I think that hopefully we're going to see a lot of new, unique sort of products. They were working on an Apple car, and they put a lot of money in, and that never saw the light of day. So maybe we're going to see a lot of new, interesting things coming from Apple.
Well, Daniel Schaefer, thank you for coming on this Sunday morning. Have a happy 4th of July. I hope you spend it with family, and God bless you. And I hope Apple products are even better in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on, Mr. Katz, and sending you happy 4th for you and the family.
Thank you for listening to the Katz Roundtable. We'll be right back right after this break.
This is going to be an extremely busy month. I have to watch 104 soccer games, follow the pregame, the postgame, yell useless opinions at the TV. It's a lot. So I knew that when it comes to screening for colon cancer, the choice was clear. The Cologuard Plus test. It can be used at home and can only take 15 minutes, so I can do it during halftime and not miss any action. If you are 45 or older and at average risk, ask your healthcare provider about screening for colon cancer with the Cologuard test. You can also request a prescription at Cologuard.com.
Hey parents, how do you make smarter choices for your kids' college today? That's where Sally can help. With Sally, you can find scholarships, funding options, tools, and guidance all in one place. And if you need a loan, Sally has options for different families and different situations. College is only worth it if you do it right. So don't just help your kid go. Help them go smarter. Sally.com/GoParents.
Welcome back to the Katz Roundtable. With us today is Pamela Falk, and she's a veteran news correspondent at the United Nations and former international law professor and a PhD. You must know a lot about a lot of things going on in the United Nations. One of the big items that are coming up this week is, what do you think of the NAFTA, which is the North American Free Trade Agreement that President Trump is having differences with at this point?
Right. Hi, good morning, John. The Trump administration and President Trump just yesterday declined to extend the agreement that he had negotiated. His administration had negotiated in the first term. It's the USMCA. It's the U.S.-Canada-Mexico agreement that you're talking about. Now, during that period, the agreement shielded most Canadian and Mexican goods from Trump's tariffs, except for maybe auto, steel, a few other things. But now both countries are the main trading partners of the United States. So President Trump wants more. He wants to make it a better agreement even now. And he's pushing for higher U.S. content in goods. And if a worker in the United States makes $50 an hour for a job in an auto factory and it moves south for a worker who's making $5, that's not good. And some of the unions like it because there have been some compromises, some don't. But everyone is pretty much in agreement that higher content is good. The question is how to negotiate. These are friends. So I was on the Hill as staff director of Western Hemisphere, John, when NAFTA, the original agreement, was passed. And, I mean, it's the most divisive thing in American government. You think other things are, but this is pretty bad.
I will tell you, I was a Bill Clinton Democrat. I helped run his campaign, and now President Trump is a businessman first and a Republican second. That's just my opinion. And that he is looking as the United States of America as being a business, and he wants a fair deal for the American people because his opinion is that we've been getting screwed for so many years.
That's absolutely true. And you're a business person as well. You know about food content. And I once said this to Bill Riley on the air a long time ago when he was saying, oh, look, let's just forget about Mexico. And I said, do you like strawberries? And he said, yes. The answer is, if you like strawberries, you better start dealing with Mexico because, and of course, Canada now is also integrated into every single thing. Every car is one piece is in Canada, one piece is in the United States, one piece in Mexico. You can't stop it. And what you can do is make a better deal. But you're not going to get strawberries in the United States if you don't have some lower paid workers working in the United States for jobs that Americans don't take. So it all bodes well for a newer, better agreement. The rhetoric probably could be toned down a bit.
I think, you're right. I mean, the Canadians are wonderful people. They're our brothers and sisters up there, and I love them and respect them. And the same thing with the Mexican people. What President Trump wants to accomplish is he wants to have something over the Mexicans, especially with all the fentanyl coming in, killing our people. And with Canada, the president jokes around about making the 51st state, and the Canadian people take it seriously because they don't know President Trump like some of us Americans know him. But what President Trump wants to do with Canada is sit, in my opinion, is sit at one round table or one square table or whatever table it is and work out a good deal for both countries.
Yeah, I think that's true. And I think everyone understands that. And I mean, there's been some insults back and forth, but I think generally speaking, Mexico understands where the United States is coming from. Mexico has these drug lords are terrible. I mean, it's just awful. They kill the prosecutors. They kill anybody who's against them. And Mexico doesn't have that in line, and this won't change that. But Mexico understands that the unfiltered migration is not good. People die coming over, the Rio Grande. They die through all of these passes that are very dangerous.
Hundreds of thousands of kids missing that nobody knows where they are.
Exactly. No, it's a terrible situation. And we should have a better relationship with Mexico. I mean, Mexico, and I think Claudia Sheinbaum is pretty good. I mean, she's wanted the U.S. Now, there's, enough history with Mexico. They don't want U.S. agents on their side of the border, but help with getting rid of these gangs and bringing fentanyl, which is not sourced from Mexico. It's sourced from Asia and China and other places in Indonesia. It's coming through Mexico.
I think the worst thing that we did as Americans is send over to China like 90% of our pharmaceuticals to China and India. I mean, you can't become dependent on any one country for the products that we need. I think President Trump is a realist, and he understands that. And last week, I interviewed the ambassador from Cuba. I sent it to the president, and basically the Cuban people that exist right now, they want to do everything President Trump wants to do, but they just want to maintain their sovereignty. So let them negotiate.
I mean, as you know, I swam in these straits, the Florida waters for a long time, writing on Cuba, working with El Duque, the Yankee pitcher, working with a dance group that came to the United States, and basically trying to get both sides. I mean, people into Cuba that want to get in and out of Cuba before I was doing journalism. And just because the divided family is so heart-wrenching, the Cuban Americans that would like their family out or to go in and see what they could get back from their day. And the problem is the Cuban government. But if they can make some kind of agreement, certainly the Cuban people would like some relief.
We did the same thing in Venezuela. We're doing the same thing in Iran. We're leaving the present government in place as long as they cooperate and do the right thing by all.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Pamela, I will send you a copy of the interview I did with the Cuban government, and thank you for coming on, and let's get together again real soon.
Yeah, sometime we'll talk about the Duque story and also, about what's going on at the UN. I mean, there's some pretty good politicians there. I mean, Mike Waltz is trying to...
Mike Waltz is a very decent person. I know him since he was a congressman. Happy 4th of July weekend.
It's great to be the 250th.
The Cats Roundtable.
With us today is Kush Desai, a special assistant to the President of the United States and also Senior Deputy Press Secretary of the White House. Mr. Desai, there was a good jobs report today. Give us an analysis for all the people on our 250-year anniversary.
Thanks for having me on. That's exactly right. We had a very solid jobs report that reinforces that President Trump's economic agenda is continuing to pay off and to keep the American economy resilient. You saw unemployment tick down just a little, but what we saw was very robust factory construction growth, meaning the jobs being created to build the factory that the president is reshoring from foreign countries back to the United States. And we also saw a continuing in the rebound of manufacturing jobs, meaning manufacturing is finally coming back. And that matches what the president and this administration have been focused on since day one, which is using our economic agenda of tariffs, of deregulation, of energy abundance, of tax cuts to get American businesses, to get foreign businesses even, to invest right here in the United States, to create jobs, and to safeguard our national and economic security.
How are we going to get enough employees? I know things are doing great. There's more industries coming to the United States of America. When I spoke to President Trump, and he has told the world, we got another 18, 19, $20 trillion coming in over the next few years. how are we going to get enough labor since things are doing so well?
Well, look, the reality is that around 1 in 10 young American adults are not employed. They're not pursuing any sort of education. They're not any sort of vocational training. And so there is no shortage of American hands and minds to power and build the coming American golden age. And so we have plenty of untapped potential, and that the administration is working very hard to make sure that we get every American, every able-bodied American adult off the sidelines and participating and working in our economy.
What else would you like to tell the American people? We have a couple million people listening to us right now.
For sure. Look, I think that this administration's this president's economic agenda, whether it be the Trump accounts, which are allowing the next generation, future generations of American children to build wealth tax-free and start adult life off with a head start. And also, more importantly, I know you're in New York and we have all these socialists and communists that are starting to come about. We want the next generation of American children to have their own stake in American capitalism. And that's exactly what Trump account does. If you yourself, own shares, have your own portfolio that has been building and growing since you were a baby, and you start adult life off at 18 with this nest of wealth that's been accruing because of business, because private entrepreneurs are out there creating jobs, selling products, making money, you now have a stake in American capitalism, in American society, in American freedom. And so I think we're looking at, when you look at some of these policies like Trump accounts, like the Trump IRAs, which similarly help working class people build retirement accounts and invest their money to build wealth in the long term. What we're really doing is laying the groundwork here, not just to create jobs and raise wages in the short term, but to lay the long-term restoration of American prosperity so every American has a real shot at the American dream and every American has a real stake in America's dynamic economy.
With the jobs doing so well, what else is the next thing that you worry about or feel good about?
Well, I think for the president, it's never enough. He's always looking at what we can do bigger and better. But look, obviously, affordability is top of mind for many Americans, and this administration is laser focused on delivering on that front across the board, securing more most favored nation drug pricing deals to get prescription drug prices down, to slash the pervasive waste, fraud, and abuse throughout our federal government, throughout the healthcare system, to make healthcare easier and cheaper for Americans, to get the government out of the way so that we build more housing and so that Americans can afford housing again. So across the board, we're very focused, obviously, energy and drill, baby, drill, and unleashing American energy. So, there's a whole government effort here to get the economy roaring again and deliver real economic relief for the American people.
And energy prices are going down. I guess crude oil was down to $67, $68 a barrel in the last 24 hours. Interest rates, even though Bank of America said that interest rates are going to go up, I see that 10-year T-bill is coming down. So if we can bring down interest rates enough, I guess people will be able to buy more homes.
That's exactly right. Look, the last few inflation reports were only a little higher because of energy. As you mentioned, oil is coming down. It's plummeting. It's falling like a rock, as the president likes to say. And as oil and gas prices fall, as energy prices fall, we're looking at the next few inflation reports to possibly be, deflationary. And so when we get that inflation rate that low, or it could even be negative, we're looking at situations where it'd be criminal for the Federal Reserve to not cut rates.
I agree with you 100%. And rates going down, energy costs going down, new jobs coming into America with all the new factories being built. I guess Kelly Loeffler funding the SBA to build small businesses around different factories that are going to be built. I think it's going to be a great 2026.
That's exactly right. Again, I think we're focused on not just the short term, but the long term. So we're focused on making sure 2026 is great, 2027, 2028, and so on, with everything the president is doing.
Well, about 3-4 months ago, I predicted 60,000 Dow in December of 31 of 2026, and we just about hit 53,000 almost today.
And you know what? I think as we get prices down, as we get oil and gas prices down, as the Federal Reserve gets in a good position to cut rates, and as corporate earnings continue to be as strong as they have been because of strong consumer spending and investment spending in the United States, I think I think we could hit 60,000 very soon.
Well, Kush to say, have a great 4th of July weekend. Enjoy with your family. Enjoy the 250 years, and we hope for another 250 years to come.
Thank you. You as well, sir.
This is the Cats Roundtable. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Cats Roundtable. If you ever miss a segment or want to hear it again, go to WABCRadio.com, go to podcasts, go to minicast, and play back your favorite segment. With us today is Dylan Johnson, Assistant Secretary of State for Global Affairs. Well, Secretary Johnson, give us a report. You know, this is an important weekend, 250 years of our country. Give us the pulse of the situation. What the heck is going on?
Yeah, well, it's great to be with you, John. Look, we are so excited here at the State Department to celebrate this historic, accomplishment for the country. 250 years of American independence and the signing of the Declaration of Independence. And, I think right now when we look out across the world, Americans can be very proud of what their State Department is doing and how they're being represented on the world stage. And, you look right now, one of the big things that's going on here in Washington at the State Department is our response, our historic response to the earthquakes in Venezuela. And we're really pleased with how things are going. I mean, Secretary Rubio called me within a few hours of the disaster striking, and he said he wanted to see a response that was big, that was fast, that was effective. And that's exactly what's been delivered. And just today, there's some breaking news that we have actually American search and rescue crews were able to pull out of the rubble after 8 days a Venezuelan who was trapped, and they found him alive and he's in decent health. And so it's just a totally miraculous recovery, and it's a testament to the work that we're doing on the ground. And we're just so grateful to our partners in the military, the brave men and women of Southcom, our task force team. We have people from LA, Miami, Virginia on the ground doing this incredible work. And I think they're really showing the best of America. And, we hear a lot about what it means to be an ally of the United States in this day and age. And I think right now we're demonstrating not only to Venezuela, but to the entire world that to be an ally of America means to have the greatest country on earth with the most resources and the most capability on your side. And China is nowhere to be found. Russia is nowhere to be found. Yet again, it's America who's, America first doesn't mean America alone. And we're demonstrating that in full force on the ground in Venezuela.
What I tell people is we want to keep the free world free. That's why I'm so disappointed in some of our allies in Europe, because we're the ones that are keeping the free world free. And nobody else has the capabilities of doing that. I try to tell all our European friends.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. What's happened on the ground in Venezuela is it's Southcom, it's the U.S. military who rebuilt the runways, who's working on the port and repairing that. They're running air traffic control operations for the entire country. Short of American leadership, the response that we've seen in Venezuela would not be possible. And so, we look out across the world. The president and the secretary have been very clear with the Europeans about what we, hope for them. The secretary's speech in Munich was, we are tough on them, not because we have a problem with them. We're tough on them because we love them. We love Europe. We want strong allies. And a stronger Europe and a stronger group of allies of the United States makes the alliance even stronger. It makes us better and it makes them better. And so it's something that we continue to focus on, and we're not going to stop until, we feel that our allies are taking their own security and are making these partnerships fair. And we're just so fortunate to have President Trump at the helm, who's really able to kind of bring in this new philosophy. And we've found tremendous success already in our work.
Are they realizing that they need the United States of America to be able to put things together? Because on their own, Putin will knock them off one by one. Don't they realize it?
Yeah, I think, what you've seen is with President Trump's focus on this messaging and on making clear that, we're not going to be taken for granted, that we've seen a change. You've seen an increase in defense spending from NATO. You've seen, we're continuing to engage on the efforts as far as energy go and making sure that, they're setting themselves up with policies that don't hurt themselves. But we're hopeful. We feel good about how things are going. And, it's just really clear that no other president other than President Trump and no other secretary other than Secretary Rubio have been able to accomplish this. And to get these guys to take their own security seriously has been a big win for them and a big win for us. It makes our partnership stronger. It makes the world safer. And we're just really proud of where things are heading.
Greenland, we haven't talked about that lately. Are we in charge of defenses in Greenland now?
Well, the situation, we've obviously been engaging with our Danish counterparts on this to make sure that we come to an agreement. That the president's been clear that he has particular red lines on that he wants to see certain national security elements met, and any deal will have to address the concerns the president has rightfully pointed out as far as what Greenland means for our national security. We've made a lot of good progress. We feel like we are getting close to having something to announce and a deal to be achieved there. The president is exactly right. To have Greenland off in our hemisphere, it has to have certain controls to make sure that we do not see an incursion of Russian and Chinese and otherwise malign influence in our own hemisphere.
The Arctic Ocean. Are we basically in control of the situation, or we still have loose ends?
No, I mean, things are getting better. Things are looking more aggressive. It's something the president's been focused on. I mean, you haven't heard a lot talked about the Arctic until this administration, and President Trump has really made it a priority. And in the National Security Council under Secretary Rubio, they've been doing a lot of work to kind of make sure that American interests are protected there. And we, look forward to kind of having more announcements coming on that. But it's a definite priority. It's a frontier that we care about a great deal here in Washington. And we're hopeful that we're going to be able to kind of proliferate the America First successes that we've found elsewhere in the world to also the Arctic.
Let's go to Caribbean for a few minutes. I mean, we're going around the world with you because you are in charge of global affairs. Cuba. Last week on my show, we had the Cuban ambassador sending a message to the American people that they want peace and they want to have tranquility with our government. How are things going?
Well, things are going okay. I mean, look, the president and the secretary have been clear what they want to see out of Cuba. And, we have a couple of issues. Number one, we are not going to tolerate a substation for communism, really the last foothold of the Soviet Union, just 70 miles off our shores. We're not going to allow them to pose any sort of threat to America's national security. We also have found that the oppression of the people on the ground in Cuba has been devastating, and it's something that is personally very important to Secretary Rubio, of course, and we want to see a change in leadership in Cuba, both for America's national security and for the future of the people in Cuba. Obviously, what's taken place in Venezuela with Maduro has put us in a much stronger position to deal with Cuba because they're getting all of their oil and they're getting all of these resources from Venezuela, and that has effectively stopped because of the change in leadership in Venezuela. And so, we'll see what happens. The president retains all options at any time to take any action he deems necessary, but we want to make sure that our interests in Cuba are taken care of. And we've seen, over the years, they've funded left-wing violence and left-wing activism in America. There's a lot of issues with Cuba. But just generally, when you look at the Western Hemisphere, under Secretary Rubio, we have been wildly successful. We've had conservative leaders win in countries all over. Just this week, Peru certified their election. Last week, Colombia certified an election for the conservative candidate for president. We've seen kind of a remaking of the Western Hemisphere, and I think it's something that Americans really appreciate, that after decades and decades of kind of looking, onward to the Middle East and to other parts of the world, we've neglected our own backyard. And under this president and under this secretary, the State Department is fully focused on cleaning up the Western Hemisphere and making sure that we're putting America first.
Understood. We went global. What countries do you want to talk about that we have missed?
I think, just generally, we're very happy with how things are going. I think we've done so much when we look back over the last 15 months. And, the president's secured peace deals all over the world. And we look at Israel and Gaza and the incredible feat that he was able to accomplish with getting the hostages out. We're continuing to work on that. You look at Azerbaijan and Armenia, India and Pakistan, across the globe, really, when you look at it and you look back at the last 15 months, I think Americans can be proud of the job that President Trump has done.
I have one last question. Is Christianity? We have been protecting the Jewish communities and the Jews around the world, and President Trump has went in to defend Christianity down in Nigeria. But there's more of a big global problem. Are we going to be addressing, Christianity worldwide?
Absolutely. I mean, look, this is an issue that President Trump has raised multiple times. It's very important to him. You saw military strikes take place in Nigeria a few months ago on this very issue. Religious liberty, religious freedom worldwide is incredibly important to not only the president, but to this entire administration. I mean, Secretary Rubio is a man of deep faith, so we're committed to that, and it's something that we will not tolerate, no matter where it is the persecution of Christians. And so we'll continue to monitor and we'll continue to watch and take action where appropriate, but it's a focal point of this administration, and it's really important. And when you look back at such a time as this, on our 250th birthday, I think it's the perfect time to renew this focus and make sure that we are, paying attention to that problem and addressing it head first.
Secretary Johnson, thank you so much for bringing all the American people up to date on the 4th of July weekend. And God bless the United States of America. God bless all the people that defend it. And thank you for coming on this Sunday morning.
Thank you, John. God bless America.
The Cats Roundtable.
Let's go to Wyoming. And with us today is Congresswoman Harriet Hageman. What are you guys doing in Wyoming on 4th of July weekend?
John, we are going to be doing quite a few different celebrations around the state. I understand that you may own a home up in Cody, and Cody is one of the most popular destinations for people who are visiting Wyoming. They have a fabulous parade during the morning, and then they have the rodeo at night. And Cody is famous for having rodeos. They have a rodeo every night during the summer, but over the Independence Day celebration, they have just all different kinds of things going on with it. So Cody is a wonderful place to visit during the 4th of July. Obviously, we also have Yellowstone National Park, the first national park in the country, Grand Teton National Park, Monument. We have the very first monument in Wyoming. That's up near Hewlett. That's Devil's Tower. I will be in Cheyenne all day on Saturday, and we're having a big celebration with a parade, all kinds of activities at the state capitol. And so I will be enjoying my time celebrating our incredible history by being with my fellow Wyomingites in Cheyenne.
Well, that is great news, and we love the 4th of July, the 250th year of our country. What year did Wyoming become a state?
1890, and my great-grandfather came to Wyoming in 1878 on a cattle trail north from Texas. I now have 6 generations of my family have called Wyoming home. Wyoming was the first state in the nation to give women the right to vote in 1869. So a full 50 years before the rest of the country caught up. So Wyoming's got quite a few firsts to our name.
That sounds great. I look forward to visiting Wyoming soon, and I want to see my house because I don't get out there that often, but I want to be able to go out there soon. Is the snow melted yet?
You know, it's kind of funny. Just north of Cody, over the last couple of days, they did have some snow. Kind of on the Montana-Wyoming border, they had a snowfall just this past week. So, yes, but it's not quite as hot as Washington, D.C. or New York City, and not nearly as humid. But the snow's kind of gone.
Understood. Anything else you want to tell the American people on the 4th of July?
Well, just happy 250th. I did a speech on the floor of the House last Tuesday evening. I spent 45 minutes talking about all of the great things about America and why we should be proud of our country and our history. And I would encourage your listeners to watch that and get more of a flavor about what Wyoming is.
Well, happy 4th of July. Thank you for coming on, and have a great 4th of July with the family.
Thank you so much. You as well.
You are listening to the Cats Roundtable. We'll be right back.
This episode is brought to you by San Pellegrino Ciao. A gift from Italy to your home. San Pellegrino Ciao is a flavored sparkling water made with real fruit juice, finished with a pinch of Sicilian salt for a perfectly balanced taste. So which flavor will you choose? Peach, lime, blood orange, cherry, or maybe the all-new limoncello? Crafted in Italy with 0 grams of added sugar. San Pellegrino Ciao. Buy it now.
Welcome back to the Cats Roundtable. Well, who do we have but one of the best I have ever known, Senator Joe Manchin from the great state of West Virginia. And Senator Manchin, there's a mess in Washington, there's a mess in our country, and me and you have always said extremism in any direction, whether the Democratic Party or the Republican Party, is not good for our country. And right now, we have people at each other's throat in the middle of the 250th year of our country, and I worry about our future. What say you?
Well, John, let me say, first of all, happy 4th to you and all your listeners, and God bless America, because I truly believe he did bless us with this wonderful country of ours. 250 years of growing pains, but basically it's still an experiment. We have come through so much challenges and turmoil and heartache and challenges, but we've come out with the freedom that we have, the liberty that we have. For the people who say they hate America, but they're still here, they ought to count their blessings that they're able to do that in a country that allows them to do that. If they could just think of how they're able to have the freedoms to say and do as they please, and other countries won't allow that.
And that's what gets me. This is a celebration of the freedoms and liberties we all have, whether you agree or disagree. And we can make it better if we work together. The bottom line is that political parties, John, have taken total control of the party system. And that's what our founding father, George Washington, was afraid of. You know, when George Washington left office in 1796, he said, beware of the political parties that can become the engines that allow unscrupulous people and men to usurp the power from the people. It's of the people, by the people, and for the people, John. And right now, the people are the last thing they're considering in the political situations that we have. They want to redistrict, and they don't talk about redistricting an area, whether it be in New York or West Virginia, other than how can they get more strength in the political party. It's not about giving more representation or better representation to the people they're supposed to be serving. They're cutting lines across, going sideways, upside down, north, south, and every way they want to go in order to pick up a few votes. That's not how it's supposed to work. And next of all, you got 47% of people that are registered to participate and vote in America, like me, who are registered no party affiliation, John, and we're disenfranchised. I can't go and vote. I wanted to vote in the Republican primary in West Virginia this year. They wouldn't let me because I was a registered independent. And that's what I'm saying. 43 states are closed or semi-closed. Okay? 43 are semi. It's just unbelievable. 17 states are totally closed, John. If you're not a Democrat or Republican, you can't vote at all. You have 30 million people that basically can't vote. Well, the Voting Rights Act of 1965 allowed African Americans the right to vote. But yet, as an independent, 30 million people in America can't vote. How do you have this experiment that we call a representative form of democracy? We think we can elect people to represent us when we can't even vote for them. We've got to change that, my friend.
I agree with you 110%. Now, how do we change it? Is there anybody in the Democratic Party that can bring things closer together? I mean, the Republican Party, the president is the president, and he's taking the leadership. But the Democratic Party, they've allowed the Socialist Party to take the leadership.
When there's a void of leadership, John, you see what happens. Okay, they don't know who the leader is. And you got all of these young, aggressive people who are excited, they're involved. They associate themselves with the Socialist Party. And if they feel that, hey, I'm 25, 30, 40 years old and I can't buy a house, my groceries are higher than ever, I have no upward bound that I can see that I can improve the quality of life, I'm still paying off student debt, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and they're basically just torn apart, and they just want to change. And basically the MAGA Party, you got the MAGA Party, which is extreme right, you've got that used to be, we used to call them the liberal, that went from the liberal to the progressive, and now it's to the Democratic Socialist of America. And if they are truly believing socialism as the way that they want to live their life, then they start a new party called the DSA Party and get what you're voting for. But still yet, John, if you had an open primary, then we could see if those type of people could take over a party. In New York, they did it, and did it very successfully. You had less than 18% of the people registered to vote in New York City even attend voting. Well, guess who was out there working their butts off morning, day, and night? The DSA. They took advantage of it. So the two main party systems, Democrat and Republicans, are now reaping what they sowed, which is total control, basically, by aggressive zealots on the extremes. And that's what we're getting.
Well, we need leadership in the Democratic Party, and somebody has to take the leadership. Otherwise, the Democratic Party will be in trouble. And you can't allow the socialists to take control by
John,
just winning a few small elections.
John, between you and I, if the Democratic Party, and this is why I left, what happens to the Democrats? And this is nothing. What happened to the Democrats in Washington? Historically, traditional Democrats have left. And their thought was this. The Democrat Party of Washington, D.C. spends more time and effort and resources on able-bodied, capable people that don't work and won't work than those of us who do. So as far as we're concerned, we're done. They're not after us. They're after people that basically don't want to work or can't work. And then they want to give everything away. And they don't want to close the borders. If a Democrat can't say, listen, I am not only going to secure the borders and support President Trump's securing the borders, I'm going to even make it more secure, but I'm also going to work on having a legal way of immigration. So people like our ancestors who came here for the work and a new way of life will be able to still come here, John. And right now, they're talking about birthright citizen. That's fine. I think most people, you should be birth citizens that are born here. But what's happened is that birthright citizenship, people are coming here to have their babies in order to claim that. So I understand the concerns and frustrations. I'm not supporting that either. But on the other hand, you don't have to worry about that, John. If you had strong borders, if you had a legal immigration policy, that people could come here for the right reason. I don't know who's giving these visas out, but if a person is 6 and 7 months pregnant and gets a 6-month visa, something's wrong, John.
On the previous hour, I had my daughter-in-law on, my son John's wife, Meg, that lived in California. Her father was the famous Angelo Mazzillo, who had a big company out there. And she went to visit her old house, and there's 40 bunks in that old house, and there's 40 Chinese pregnant women in those bunks.
Oh, my God. That is unbelievable.
And her friends tell her there's 100 of those houses out in California. Our country is being invaded.
We're under attack.
We're under attack, and our country is being invaded. But Senator Manchin...
Well, I think what can happen, I can tell you what can happen, John. I think the legislature will look at this, what they call tourism for the sake of living.
And they don't leave.
They'll look at that. What's the intention? No, and the bottom line is this country has been open. Give me you're tired, you're poor, you're hungry, you're huddled masses. That's fine. Those who want to start a new life in this country and participate, contribute, pay taxes, and support this great country of ours. Right now, they're just taking advantage of it. That has got to change. And Democrats have got to speak up. If they can't, they will not be in the majority. They will not sit in the White House anytime soon.
Senator Joe Manchin, give us your website that you're getting more involved to make sure America goes right.
What we have, John, my daughter Heather and I have AmericansTogether.org. That's AmericansTogether.org. It's very simple.
AmericansTogether.org.
.org. That's it. And it tells you if you get on it, you can look at where you live. It'll tell you what kind of government you have. If you're happy or unhappy, you'll know why and what you can do to change it. We can change this, John, but it's going to have to be the people. We are still, by the Constitution, we still have the control. It's not the politicians, whether it be a Democrat or Republican. It's not the president. Those are our leaders that we've chosen to represent us. But they still have to answer to the people. But if the people don't get involved, or if the system prohibits them from getting involved, if you don't want to open your primary up, John, don't have a primary. Let's just vote for the general election and let everybody run. This is crazy. They're stopping basically good people from getting involved because they can't control them, and they want total control.
Thank you, Senator Joe Manchin, and we need you back in Washington, and we need you to whisper in everybody's ear and let common sense prevail.
John, I'm starting to speak so loud I think they all have a hearing aid, and they still aren't listening, but I'm not quitting. I'm not giving up.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, my friend. Happy 4th.
The Cats Roundtable.
Well, with us today on 4th of July weekend is Steve Moore. Steve, there's so many things happening. Happy 4th of July. I hope you're spending time with your family. But all the things that are happening, President Trump last week said that Canada, he's going to suspend some of those treaties, and I want a reaction from you on how that's going to affect.
Well, first of all, John, I hope you had a wonderful 4th of July weekend on this 250th anniversary of the greatest country on earth. And I really do believe, as you do, that God smiles on this country, that, as Reagan said, that it is divine providence that America was put here as a beacon of freedom for the rest of the world. And that's what I celebrated this weekend. So you asked me about the situation, this spat between Canada and the United States. And Trump has announced he's going to, I don't know the exact language they use. I think he's temporarily suspending the U.S.-Canada-Mexico trade agreement. He's angry at Canada because Canada has not been playing by the rules. But I've always believed, John, that U.S., Canada, and Mexico should be a free trade zone so that the North American continent, when it comes to technology, when it comes to manufacturing, when it comes to energy, an area you know so much about, we want to be the number one producer in the world. But Canada's been misbehaving, and I think Trump is getting very tough with Canada because they have not been cooperating. They're not playing by the rules.
Knowing Trump the way I know him, I mean, if they all sit down at the same table, I think they'll make a good deal for both countries.
Well, he's a deal maker, isn't he? He's the best deal maker I've ever seen in my life, and I hope that's the case because I don't want USMCA to go away. I want to make sure that Canada is a partner with the United States. And by the way, one of the most important things for our country going forward is that, in terms of our foreign policy, make sure that Mexico does not go, to the loony left like New York City seems to be with all these socialists taking power there. So we want to make sure that Mexico is stable. and that we don't have, millions of Mexicans coming over the border. So I would like to see trade between our three nations.
I understand the way I read his thoughts that he wants to make two different trade deals, one from Mexico and one from Canada.
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, you never know with Trump, but I think he wants to make sure that, Canada has a trade surplus with the United States, and Canada's economy is not doing well. Did you know that, John? They're not doing well. We're doing much better than they are because they screwed up, their trade relationship with Trump. Trump is not popular with Canada. He should be because he's shown the way about how you create prosperity. With respect to Mexico, look, I think we need to retain a friendly relationship with that country because they are on our southern border. They're our biggest foreign policy concern in the world.
Well, anything else you want to tell the American people on the 4th of July weekend?
Good times are ahead. I do believe the Fed is probably more likely to be cutting interest rates than raising rates. I believe that the effects of the big, beautiful tax bill, which we just celebrated the one-year anniversary of, continues to kick in and provide a real stimulus to the economy. And, John, you're the expert on this, but I think gas prices are going to continue to fall.
Oh, I agree with you. The gas prices will continue to fall. But let's see what happens. And have a great 4th of July weekend, and let's catch up again real soon.
God bless America, my friend. Take care.
Thank you for listening to the Cats Roundtable. Every Sunday morning, we'll bring you the latest in what's happening in our community, our country, and the world. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Have a nice Sunday.